Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope, and this video where I'm going to go through a couple of things that I am keeping in mind between Game Week 1 and Game Week 13. I'm trying to save my wildcard all the way up until Game Week 13, so I'm going to have to plan a little bit ahead to see if I can actually make the moves that I want to make and have the players that I want to have in my squad. So I'm going to go through what I had from this past draft that I presented to you guys when it comes to my own team. I have changed it a little bit now, but that is coming out on the video not tomorrow, but on Monday. So you're going to have to wait for Monday to see my updated draft. But I'm going to use my old draft to sort of show you how you can navigate through the season. And hopefully it will teach you some things here and there, I guess. But yeah, I can first and foremost just go through the team as it stands, or as it used to stand at least in my latest draft. In goal I had Mats Sells, and on the bench I actually had Benda at Fulham, but he went on loan to Millwall and they got a new second goalkeeper in the comp, so he is my now second goalkeeper. That's my only change since last time. But yeah, that's my goalkeeper pairing, or basically just my goalkeeper, Sells. So yeah, that's that. When it comes to defenders, I have Gabriel, who is now... Latest news is that he's going to be fit for Game Week 1. He hasn't played in the preseason matches, but Mikel Arteta, at least if you can trust him, said that Gabriel will be ready to play Game Week 1. So that's nice for this visualization as well. Saka is also ready for Game Week 1, and Udogie is a bit of a risk. Like, he is a bit of a injury doubt as of right now, but hopefully he'll be ready to play as well. But otherwise, I have some other pretty good suggestions there. He might even be out of my squad already. Udogie, but yeah. The rest of my defenders also have Agbadu for Wolves. Pretty excited about him overall because he is a defensive contributions monster, and I think Wolves actually are a lot better defensively than people give them credit for. They had pretty good defensive numbers after Vitor Pereira came in last season. And finally, Julian Araujo, who is most likely going to be the starting right back for Bournemouth at 4.0. That's my defenders. My midfield is super template with 4 out of 5 players in the template team basically, which I did a video on yesterday where I tried to tear down every single template pick, but I still have, or at least used to have, 4 out of the 5 template midfielders in my own squad. And first and foremost, we have Salah, who is the mainstay. He is the most highly owned player in the FPL right now. Cole Palmer as well, right up there as well, above 50% ownership. He's also super popular. Rodgers from Aston Villa, who is getting more and more popular now after people are realizing that, hey, his 8 goals and 11 assists from last season is actually really damn good for a 7.0 midfielder who's going to play every game and plays for a really good team with really good fixtures and everything that's good about Rodgers. He's fantastic. Kudus, not as fantastic, but he has really good fixtures and he has really high potential. And then up front, on the bench as well, in my midfield, my final bench player is Tijani Reinders from Man City, who I'm a little bit unsure of still, but I think he has some really nice potential in that Man City team. So I think he's someone for 5.5 who could all of a sudden explode and be one of those guys that you really want at that price point as well. So he's a bit of a punt, but he's also someone that can fill in at times this season, which will be handy, as you'll see in this video actually. Up front as well, I have currently Victor Gyökeres from Arsenal. He just got his first minutes for Arsenal now in the last friendly match. Jared Bowen has been in pretty much every squad for me because he has Sunderland at home or away in the first match. And he has pretty good fixtures throughout, but I'm going to show you a couple things with him as well in this video as I go through every game week up until game week 13, where I'm trying to wildcard this season. And finally, we have Beto from Everton, who a lot of people aren't really trusting as the number 1 player for and number 1 striker for Everton, but he has been starting every season or every preseason game basically so far for Everton, and I think he's going to be the starter going forward as well, because David Moyes usually sticks to what he has up front and doesn't really play youngsters that much. I know that as a West Ham fan from Moyes' time with West Ham basically. So yeah, that is the team. So let's now go into the FPL.team app, which is what I'm using here to go through each and every game week. And this is really important. If you don't already do this in FPL, you really need to visit sites like FPL.team where you can actually plan out game weeks ahead. And that's what I'm going to show you in this video, how I can sort of plan out a little bit ahead. Obviously, planning out 13 game weeks perfectly is just never going to happen. Even like 5 game weeks perfectly is probably never going to happen. So you have to take some precautions, I guess, in terms of what you're doing with these transfers. Like, you shouldn't have too many transfers either. You should have some extra spare room just in case something goes wrong, because something always goes wrong in FPL and it never really turns out how you want it to be, whether that's injuries, whether that's people out of form going down in price in your own team, people in form going up in price that are not in your team that you really want to get earlier than you expected them to, or people that you didn't expect at all to have in your squad. There's always something else that's happening that has not gone according to plan, basically. But I'm going to try my best either way, to show you like a loose plan and show you like the broader moves that I'm looking at throughout this season as we go along. And this will also be a bit different depending on the squad structure, because I have done this as well with my latest draft, and that has some pretty different ramifications. Like I have the same like overarching goals, but I have different ways of getting there basically. But yeah, I'm going to show you as we go along in this video. So this is basically my GW1 team. I think it's looking pretty strong with the current starters as it is right now. Rangers against Wolves away, just in case if someone is dropped, if Beto doesn't play for some reason, or yeah, not likely, but if Gyökeres doesn't play, who knows what's going to happen in GW1 really. But I think I have a nice backup in Rangers just in case I need him to. You never know what's going to happen, like I just said, in FPL, basically. But yeah, that's Game Week 1. Game Week 2, I'm also looking to do no transfers. And actually, I have to go down a little bit here to show you the whole thing probably on the video, because it has like, this weird prompt now, this FPL.team site that it doesn't usually have. So yeah, I'm going to go down even a little bit further, which is kind of annoying, actually. It makes it a bit harder to make the video. But anyways, I'm going to power through. Doesn't really matter that much. But this is my Game Week 2 squad. Obviously, we'll do some changes to the starting lineup. The Spurs guys against Man City. That's a no-go. Not Yaya's a no-go, but a no-go. So yeah, swapping them out for Reinders and Agbodou, especially if Reinders looks good in Game Week 1. That is probably the move to do. Otherwise, Kudos against City, not the worst fixture if I need to play him there. But other than that, I think the team's looking pretty good. Leeds at home for Gyökeres, that is the main thing. You can make him as captain. That's the biggest reason why he's in my team, because I want a really good captain here. Could go with Palmer. He has West Ham, and he kind of dominated West Ham last season in both games. So that could be a really good captaincy shout as well. And that will probably safeguard you against the rest of the player fan base, or the player base basically, or manager base in FPL. Could also be Salah if he has a really huge Game Week 1, and then people will be reluctant to go away from Salah. So yeah, plenty of captaincy options here to choose from in this team as well, basically. But yeah, Game Week 2, not really doing much in terms of changing it. Let's go further, and oh yeah, they actually removed the thing now. Nice. So yeah, this should be looking good on your screens right now. Yep, you have everything covered, including my extra money in the bank and stuff. But also what you can see here is the fact that I've used a free hit in Game Week 3, which is my tactic that I've talked about throughout most of this preseason. And this is basically because you can field a really, really good team that you wouldn't really be close to getting normally. There are some players that are potentially popular, like, or that are pretty popular. Rodgers, Palmer, for example, and Joao Pedro is pretty popular. But the rest of these players, Gordon against Leeds away, Hall against Leeds away, Kelleher is pretty popular, so he's also one of those. But Coyote against Sunderland away, Man United guys against Burnley at home as well. Dorgu is actually the one I would want to play. This is wrong, actually. Dorgu against Burnley rather than Coyote there against Sunderland. 3 Man United players at home to Burnley, the weakest team in the league, in my opinion. You can captain Bruno Fernandes, who has usually been really good in these fixtures. I captained him twice against Leicester last season, and he got 17 points in each of those games. So I have some really nice hopes for Bruno Fernandes here in Game Week 3, where people are not going to go for these guys. Like Bruno Fernandes, Man United players in general, they have terrible fixtures both before and after. Look at the games after. Man City away, Chelsea at home. Brentford and Sunderland aren't too bad, actually. But then Liverpool, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Spurs away. Like, it's not ideal for the first 13 game weeks. And the first 2 fixtures as well against Arsenal and then Fulham aren't the best either for Man United. So they're not really highly owned picks, and I think they're going to be really good for Game Week 3. Same in Newcastle as well. Don't really have good fixtures that much. Like, they have 2 good fixtures here, but then like mostly just grey, not so good fixtures, and they start off tough as well with against Aston Villa in the first game week, and then a pretty tough match in Game Week 2 as well, basically. So yeah, apart from that as well, Maatsen, who we don't really know if he's going to be the starter or not for Aston Villa, but at this point in time, in Game Week 3, we'll have 2 game weeks worth of data, so we'll see who gets to start, who doesn't play, who's been sold, who's come in. Like, we have so much more information here. Even when it comes to Alexander Isak, maybe at this moment in time, Isak has decided to stay at Newcastle, and then he would be another really good addition to this squad. I'd probably have to drop Palmer to afford Isak up front there for Newcastle against Leeds away, but that would be fantastic. Maybe Anvisa has left Brentford and gone to Newcastle, and he could be the starting striker, and that would also open up a spot for Igor Thiago at Brentford playing at Sunderland as well. So there's a lot of good variations that can happen before Game Week 3 that will make this tactic really, really good. So I'm really excited for the Game Week 3 free hit. That's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. So yeah, I think it's a really good tactic. And also, as you can see from my team as well, I have several I have Salah from Liverpool, and I also have several Arsenal players. I might get another Liverpool player as well. And those guys face each other in this game week. So yeah, another reason why game week 3 free hit is my personal favorite, and I think most people should go for it as well. But it doesn't seem like most people are doing it, so that's good for me, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, that was a long time on game week 3, which I talked about already, and we have this 15 try list thing back that I really regret having because it's so annoying that I have to go back and forth with the team here. But as you can see the whole team basically here. But yeah, Agbado against Newcastle away, not ideal. You have Araujo against Brighton at home, which is pretty good, and Udogie against West Ham away. And I think Araujo's going to play if he starts here in this match, or for Bournemouth in the first 3 fixtures, then he's probably going to start this one as well. And then you have a decision between Udogie and Wan-Bissaka as well. Like, who do you prefer? Do West Ham look better? Do Spurs look better? West Ham are at home. Spurs are the better team, most likely, even though they finished behind West Ham last season. So, yeah, a close call where you'll probably just have to make a decision when we come to game week 4, basically. Kudus could easily play as well over someone in attack. You could also actually... There's a decent chance for a bench boost here in this game week as well, despite the goalkeeper not playing, or if he's gotten the chance to play now, if Leno is injured for some reason, that would be super lucky. But you could potentially bench boost here as well, but I probably wouldn't do it. I think it's better options to bench boost than this. But yeah, benching Kudus is not ideal, so probably would bench Reinders depending on how he's looked so far this season. But Kudus should have more offensive potential anyways. But yeah, that's game 4. Still not doing any transfers. I think this is looking like a pretty solid team. I still don't have any players that I really want to have that are playing some of the weaker teams that I would desperately want to have in my squad. But that changes in game week 5, where we have some other issues with the team as well, which first and foremost is Gyökeres playing against Man City. It's a pretty tough fixture that I would like to avoid. I haven't even done the captaincy, but don't really pay attention to that because Salah's going to be the captain mostly. But yeah, this time around, I think this is a nice chance. You can see Aston Villa here playing Sunderland away. Unless I already start the season with Watkins, I might save myself this transfer by actually just having Watkins for game week 1 because they have some pretty good fixtures as well. But I do really want to have Gyökeres for game week 2 and the captaincy in that game week. But if I do feel good about Palmer as my captain that game week, or Salah for that matter, then maybe I can drop Gyökeres and just have Watkins and save myself a transfer and have some really good fixtures to start the season as well. And just keep at it with Watkins basically. But yeah, Watkins coming in for Gyökeres in this instance here. I think that's going to be pretty good for my team basically. So let's move on to the next game week. I think this is looking pretty good at this moment. Well, of course, like Agbado and stuff can come in for Udogie. I would probably want to play like these guys, like the super expensive defenders. I would probably want to play them in every game. And especially now with the defensive contributions thing, you can get extra points even though you are conceding and stuff. And that might also help if you play against Man City even, because he will have probably more defensive actions there. Gabriel, who's like not the best when it comes to defensive contributions, but he can get them at times basically. Cells again with good fixtures playing the Burnley away. That's also really, really nice. So that's game week 5. More changes in game week 6 though. This is where it's really interesting and where I once again need to adjust the screen because of the trial list thing, but it keeps reminding me after every other game week. But yeah, as you can see with the whole squad now, 1.0 million in the bank, 3 transfers left because I haven't used a transfer at this point. And I'm only going to use 2 out of the 3 because I am sure that I'm probably going to have 2 transfers at this point, or even less potentially. Maybe I need to take hits to make this happen, but something that always happens, like I said at the start of the video, is unforeseen circumstances basically. So yeah, I have a pretty good and solid team here, but I do have one thing that I really want to correct, and that is the fact that Man City play against Burnley. You would really want to have Man City players for this game week, and as you can see from the City fixtures, the next 3 are actually pretty good, like Burnley at home, Brentford away, Everton at home. I would want some City cover for that. Even Aston Villa away and Bournemouth at home as well. Definitely time for some City cover in my opinion. And again, this might be a bit controversial. This is why I do these videos, because I'm going to show you what could potentially happen in this instance. Looking at Liverpool, the next fixtures all the way up until game week 13 actually, which is where they get a really good run. But from game week 6 until game week 12, they don't really have that many easy matches. Palace away, Chelsea away, Man United at home, Brentford away, fair enough. Man United at home as well. Salah should be good in that fixture. He usually is. And Brentford away. Like 8 and 9 are going to be tough fixtures to go through, or game weeks to go through without Salah. But after that, Aston Villa at home, pretty tough match as well. City away, really tough. And Nottingham Forest, who were really stingy and actually beat Liverpool at Anfield last season as well. So yeah, some pretty tough fixtures there. I think now is actually the time to move on from Salah. And especially seeing as Man City have that really nice fixture and some good fixtures to follow as well, it makes sense to bring in some Man City players. So you can go Salah to Marmoush, just change an Egyptian player to another Egyptian player, and 7.0 in the bank. You know what that means, potentially. You can't do Beto to get the guy that I want, but probably Bowen would be the one that I would have to sacrifice. Looking at Watkins, he has Burnley coming up in the next game week. You don't want to miss that. While Bowen has Leeds in game week 9, which is still some time away. Brentford at home in game week 8 is also tough to lose out on. But when you have the chance to bring in Erling Braut Haaland to be your captain against Burnley at home, then you don't want to miss that chance, basically. Then when do you want to bench Beto or someone else? That's up to you. You also have Udogie against Wolves, Wan-Bissaka against Everton potentially, or I can actually change here. Agbadou against Spurs would probably be less of an interesting option there. You still have a pretty good bench. Wan-Bissaka against Everton away, Beto against West Ham at home, Agbadou against Spurs away. Could use the bench boost here as well, but what I actually want to do is triple captain potentially. Not on Marmoush, but for Haaland. Like, that is a really good captaincy choice, potentially. That is something that I am considering, but I think a lot of people will bring in Haaland for this game week, whether that is selling Salah or whether that is using a free hit or something like that, or even a wild card. I could see a lot of people bringing in Haaland at this moment in time, and I can do it as well if I drop Salah, which is a huge downside, of course. But you also get Marmoush, who's really, really good and someone that I really would like to have in my Game Week 1 squad as well, basically. So yeah, that is Game Week 6. Let's move on to Game Week 7, which is another game week where I don't really have too much that I need to do in terms of my team. But there is one thing. I've talked about the bench boost a couple times now. Looking at this team, I think this is the game week where I would want to go for the bench boosts as of right now, if everything works out in order. And I do have some transfers left as well. I do have some money in the bank, so I can actually do this move as well, where I swap out the goalkeeper, the backup goalkeeper, Lecomte, and there is a pretty good goalkeeper that I have in mind in Jose Sa, playing against Brighton at home. First and foremost, that's good for this game week, which would normally be good as well. You can actually start him over Sels, who plays Newcastle away. But as you can see from Sels as well, at this moment in time, he has some pretty tough matches. Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Bournemouth away, Man United at home, and then Leeds at home in game week 11 is nice, but then Liverpool away in game week 12. So most of the game weeks coming up here are bad for Sels. So it actually is pretty nice to have a goalkeeper that could have some good fixtures between game week 7 to 10 and game week 12 is what we're looking for here. And when it comes to Jose Sa, who's now my starting goalkeeper, between 7 to 10, Brighton at home, Sunderland away, Burnley at home, Fulham away. Then 11, where I didn't really need him because I had a good fixture with Sels again. He plays Chelsea, which is fine because I can just play Sels. And then Palace at home in game week 12. So perfect rotation for the end of my window before the wildcard for me with Jose Sa and Sels. So I don't mind at all using the 9.5 money or cash or pounds, I guess, on two goalkeepers that will rotate pretty perfectly until I can wildcard out of them basically in game week 13. So yeah, I think Jose Sa works out really well for this game week, and I can actually bench boost as well if everyone's fit and ready to play. I think this is a pretty good bench boost week with Agbadou against Brighton. I don't have any Brighton players either. Wan-Bissaka against Arsenal. I don't have any offensive Arsenal players, so hopefully a 0-0 draw between West Ham and Arsenal there. And Beto against Crystal Palace. I don't have any Crystal Palace players. That works out perfectly. Sels against Newcastle. Don't have any Newcastle players. So ideally, I get a lot of points from this bench boost, and that is what I'm currently looking at for my bench boost. So this is a bit of an early chip strategy thing as well, because now I've used free hit. I've used my triple captain, I've used my bench boost, and I am going to use my wildcard in game week 13 as well. So this is kind of like a guide for what I'm looking at currently with my team in terms of using the chips, basically. But yeah, that is game week 7. Still 0.5 in the bank, still one extra transfer to spare just in case if I need it, basically. And in game week 8, I don't think I need it if I remember correctly. We have Agbadou and Sa double up against Sunderland. Really like that. Wan-Bissaka at home against Brentford. Would actually want to have him in the squad somehow, but maybe I would have to stick with it. But since I have two attacking players from Aston Villa, I would probably want to swap out Udogie and wish for the best, basically. And again, I think this team is pretty good. Again, Salah or Haaland is playing against Everton at home. Another good captaincy week. He played Brentford the week before that as well, where he's also a good captaincy choice. So I think I got a lot of good options in these game weeks. And again, I don't really find any reason to do any changes this game week either. I think my starting 11 is pretty damn strong. This is actually another pretty good like bench boost potential game week, even though it's a bit weaker than the week prior, but I think it still looks pretty good. So let's move on to game week 9, which is the interesting game week, because this is where the Man City run sort of takes a little bit of a stop. As you can see, Aston Villa away, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, not ideal. Same with Aston Villa. They play Man City and Liverpool in the next 2 games. They do have Leeds in game week 12, which is nice, but yeah, kind of want to get rid of at least one of Watkins or Rodgers for this run. So why not change both strikers? We do have 3 transfers, so we can actually do 2 transfers here without losing or without any fear of using a boulder transfers, basically. Saving one extra. And again, Gyökeres and Bowen back into the squad. Gyökeres against Crystal Palace at home, Bowen against Leeds away. And then I can just bench Rodgers probably in this game week as well against Man City if I want to, but I did that mistake last year when I benched Rodgers and he just absolutely dominated against Man City. So I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to bench Reinders to get potentially Beto if he still plays, if he's still a starting striker at this point, or potentially Udogie or even Araujo. I have a couple of good options here as well. Again, a pretty decent bench boost. So several good bench boost opportunities in these weeks without even having to do a transfer. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about where my bench boost potentially lines up with the squad that I have currently, at least showing you right now. But yeah, Beto probably it would be my favorite if he plays against Spurs. That is usually a pretty weak team defensively, so I think that is looking pretty good as well for my team. And the screen should look a bit better now as well, since I adjusted it a little bit. But let's move on to game week 10, and we once again get reminded about the 15 trialists in FPL.team. But yeah, this is game week 10 again. And here you can see Arsenal have a really good fixture, Burnley away. You can also see the fact that I have 6.5 million in the bank, as you can see. And that means I can actually do even more fun changes. So I think Rodgers, he has still that Leeds fixture in game week 12. Bournemouth at home is also pretty good, so I don't want to sell him. I can just bench him basically. Reinders, Bournemouth at home is a decent fixture, but again, he's also not the best player to have. Kudus against Chelsea, Man United, and then Arsenal. Probably the player I would want to get rid of, because at this moment in time, I have 13 million in the bank. That means I can bring in Bukayo Saka, if I so please, against Burnley away, which is absolutely fantastic. Also has Sunderland away coming up in game week 11, and the home game to Spurs, which is a game that Arsenal will be up for as well after that. So yeah, pretty excited to have Saka here. This is a moment in time where I don't have Salah or Haaland, because they have pretty tough-ish fixtures at least. Like, they don't have ideal fixtures. And I feel like for this little short run, before I wildcard in game week 13 and probably bring in both of them at the same time, I can go without Salah and Haaland and have a really strong side otherwise, really. So yeah, still have one more transfer extra if I want to do that. I can always swap out Reinders, for example, for someone else. Maybe Ndiaye against Everton. Who knows? Like, there are other opportunities here. But yeah, I quite like the team that I have in this moment in time in game week 10 as well. Moving on to game week 11, and again, we have Bowen against Burnley. We have Saka against Sunderland, Gyökeres against Sunderland, Marmoush against Liverpool. This might be the time to sell Marmoush. And again, we have just unlimited funds basically at this moment in time. So we can actually bring in Bruno Fernandes as well, who has Spurs away. I think he has a pretty good fixture. Yeah, he has Everton at home in game week 12. That's something that I would want to have. And Spurs away as well is a pretty good fixture. I think Bruno Fernandes is slightly pretty undervalued amongst the player base this season, because he sort of looked like a high price, but that is because he gets a lot of defensive contributions on top of everything else he does as well. This is also the game week where we can finally bring in Sels again as our starting goalkeeper. Probably should have changed Agbadou in some of these past game weeks, but yeah, doesn't really matter. Udogie against Man United potentially, or Araujo against Aston Villa. We also have Rodgers, who can come in for Reinders here, so we don't really have to worry about Reinders in this instance unless Beto is out. But again, we have an extra transfer. Pretty much every single game week that I've gone through here, I have an extra transfer to spare, just in case of something happening and something needed to be changed. But still, the overarching thing is still staying the same, and I get the players that I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, but whatever. You probably get the reference if you're old as me. But anyways, let's move on to game week 12, which is the final week before the wildcard in game week 13, which I'm looking for at least. Again, Salah against Liverpool, want to bench him. Salah against Palace looks a lot better. Udogie against Arsenal, want to bench him. We have Agbadou against Palace at home. That's nice. Araujo against West Ham at home, but we want to play Bowen here. Maybe not as captain, but again, captaincy choices, haven't really paid attention to that. Palmer would be a great captain here, but yeah, captaincy choices is not what I'm deciding in this video. Basically, it's just showing you what you can do with your squad. Or how you can prepare your squad, basically. So yeah, that is game week 12, basically, with the 15 trialists still. So yeah, that is game week 12. I think that looks pretty good. We have Beto, who we can upgrade to someone in this this fixture as well. We can actually go take a look at the fixtures, see if there's any nice teams that we can get players from. Watkins plays against Leeds. Can we afford him? Probably not. Yeah, we're 1 million short of him, so could always finagle your way into getting Watkins. Could also just not buy Fernandes the game week before. That would be easier if we just go back to game week 11 and we don't do the Fernandes move. We get someone cheaper. Someone that has a decent fixture. Let's see what we can find here. Maybe like a Chelsea player, for example. Maybe you want to go with someone like Pedro Neto, for example. Maybe he's good in this game week against Wolves at home. 4.5 left in the bank, so we can have extra money for Watkins in game week 12 as well. And we get him against Leeds, so we get another really good fixture for Watkins, and we get him back in the squad next to Rodgers here as well. So really happy with that. What you can also see from this video is the fact that I haven't done a single defensive change. That is what I usually want to do. You don't really want to waste transfers on defenders. You want to have a nice rotation of players and players that you can trust, especially nowadays with the defensive contribution points. You can select players that you can trust in pretty much any match as well. Like at a pinch, you can play Agbadou against the tougher sides because he can get those extra 2 points. Maybe if he plays Man City and Liverpool back to back, you play in both matches. He gets 2 defensive contribution points against Liverpool, gets 2 defensive contribution points against Man City, and that basically equals a clean sheet over the 2 matches, which is fantastic. So yeah, I don't really mind that at all with these defensive contributions beasts like Agbadou. I think these guys are going to be really valuable this season for 4.5 in defense. So yeah, I think you're in a pretty good spot. This is game week 12, the last game week before the elusive wildcard, the final chip that I'm going to use pretty much for the first half of the season. So yeah, got to finish strong between game week 13 and 19 without any chips, but we also have to keep in mind that in game week 7 or game week 16 we get the African Cup of Nations transfers, 5 of them. So you use all your transfers before that and you get topped up to 5 transfers for game week 16. So you have a lot of things to work around with as well in that moment in time. And yeah, I'm going to make a video probably on like different tactics for the African Cup of Nations transfers. I actually think it's a good thing that we have that in the game. I think it opens up a lot of possibilities, a lot of different ways to tackle those game weeks and how to handle them. Some people will use it for bench boost. Some people will use it to basically move the squad around, selling Salah and bringing the money to everyone else. Some people will not do any transfers at all almost and save their transfers for later. Like I think there's so many ways to do that, but that's not the topic in this video basically. But yeah, so that's game week 12. We've now gone through every single game week that I want to cover until the wildcard. As you can see, I have the wildcard checked here in the box. And now let's just go through the fixture checker as well, just to do like a recap for how it's looking. And again, I have to adjust the photo a little bit so you guys get the best idea. I have to do this on the fly basically, since I don't really do much scripted things on this channel. That is one of the downsides or upsides depending on how you look at it with this channel basically. But yeah, so going through this, like looking at the worst teams and targeting them, the 3 newly promoted teams, do I have the key players against them? Let's start with Burnley. So in game week 2 I had Gyökeres against Sunderland. That is fantastic. Really, or Gyökeres Burnley, what am I looking at? It's not Sunderland. I'm completely misreading this, but anyways, let's start with Sunderland because that is what we were looking for actually. We have Bowen against Sunderland in game week 1. And again, Burnley. What am I looking at here? I'm looking at Leeds. That's what I'm looking at for Arsenal. That's what I was looking for. But anyways, let's not do Sunderland. Let's just commit to Sunderland. Brentford, not really too fussed about having anyone from Brentford against Sunderland. Palace as well. Like Eze could be good in that game potentially. Aston Villa, I have both Watkins and Rodgers this game week. Nottingham Forest, don't really care about having Wood in this game week. Doesn't really matter. I would wish to have Bruno Fernandes against Sunderland, but that couldn't be done sadly. Wolves, Strand Larsen would be nice. That is the one downside here. Strand Larsen would be really nice from game week 3 or game week 5 onwards, but that just wouldn't work out here. But again, I do have that extra free transfer, so maybe Beto could be for Strand Larsen and I could still afford all the moves that I would want to do here as well. But yeah, Chelsea, we have Cole Palmer against Sunderland. We have Cole Palmer all the way through. Everton, don't really care about Everton players that much. And we have Beto still there as well. if he plays. And then Arsenal in game week 11, we have tripled up on Arsenal in this game week actually with Gyökeres, Saka and Gabriel, so that's really, really nice. And then Fulham and Bournemouth, I don't really care, or Fulham, I don't really care either when it comes to Sunderland. Let's look at Leeds, Beto in game week 1, we have Gyökeres and Gabriel in game week 2 there. Game week 3, we do the free hit where we bring in a lot of Newcastle players that play against Leeds, or at least 2, but maybe 3. Elanga could be good there, Gordon could be good, Isak if he still stays there. Wissa, like I mentioned in the game week 3 section, so we have that covered as well. Fulham, Wolves, not the best assets there. Wolves with Strand Larsen, who I think is nice, but yeah, gotta make some sacrifices at least. Bournemouth, like some good players, but again, I'm not really too fussed not having Emma Nilsson. I want the big stars to play in these games. Spurs, I have Kudus against Leeds. Burnley, who cares about Burnley? West Ham, we have Bowen back for this fixture against Leeds as well in game week 9. That's when we bring back Bowen. Brighton, doesn't really matter. Again, no like huge assets from Brighton unless you count Welbeck. Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood, I guess, would be good against them. Doesn't really matter. Aston Villa, we have Watkins and Rodgers here as well. So again, Leeds, pretty damn covered with the best teams against Leeds. We have a lot of coverage there. And then finally, we have Burnley, which I started with, and then I jumbled around a little bit for some reason. First game week, Spurs, we have Kudus against Burnley that game week. Sunderland, we don't have any Sunderland players. You could always have Adingra. Maybe I should have Adingra over Reinders. That's something that I have considered as well, because Sunderland have some decent fixtures at least to start the season. I think Adingra is really good as well, so that could be an option. Man United, again, free hit, bringing in all those tasty Man United players at home to Burnley. Really looking forward to that. Liverpool, we have Salah for that game week. Could also be potentially be Van Dijk if we have him rather than Gabriel. I have to make a decision between those two guys as well. Nottingham Forest, don't really care. City, we got both Marmoush and Haaland for that game week. Game week 7, we will have both Watkins and Rodgers for that game week most likely. Leeds, again, don't really care about Leeds assets against Burnley. Wolves, would wish to have Strand Larsen but can't have him, sadly. Arsenal, again, we have tripled up, I think, for this game week with Saka, Gyökeres, and Gabriel in my current drafts that I still just went through. West Ham, again, we have Bowen. Once again, another really good 200-plus point asset this season. And then Chelsea in game week 12, where we have Palmer yet another time here against Burnley. So, again, like we have basically covered the main attractions in FPL mostly. Some exceptions, I guess, like Isak could be a really good player, at least if he plays for Newcastle. But again, they have Leeds in game week 3. I will have him there, and they don't face any other promoted sides the rest of the way. So again, we're covered when it comes to Newcastle and their matches against the promoted teams as well. If Isak stays, for example. So yeah, I think it's pretty much all covered with this like kind of loose plan. But yeah, I have some really major plans, as you can see, mostly with the strikers. And I think strikers are the main thing. Like they are the most dependent on good fixtures when it comes to scoring goals, at least. Defenders are really dependent on fixtures when it comes to clean sheets. But like I said, with Agbadou, with those defensive contributions, numbers, the monsters, you don't really have that big of a rotation necessity with defenders either. So you can actually stick more with the players that you already have. So yeah. Anyways, I think this was, again, another long-winded video. Actually been like slightly more than half an hour, which is not too bad actually. So yeah, pretty happy with that. But yeah, I think it was just interesting to run through the season, hoping to get through the season like this. Hopefully I don't have too many hindrances and stuff getting in the way. I should also try to just stay patient and be attentive to the plan and hope that everything works out. But again, you could also plan for getting in Watkins in game week 9, and then all of a sudden he gets injured and you have to rework your plan before you get him in. He gets injured and all that stuff. So yeah, there's again always things that happen in FPL, so you can't predict everything that's going to happen, but I tried to at least. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. A bit jumbled up all over the place video. I'm trying to do a lot of research now. I'm looking a lot into defensive contributions points especially, and I have one player that I didn't even feature in this video who is kind of been like a huge part of my plans in my other ways of making the squad happen. But yeah, I'm gonna get to that eventually. There is a player that I think is a bit of a cheat code this season that I'm gonna get to pretty soon. I think I might have given some hints already about it, but yeah, someone that FPL doesn't seem to have accounted for with the last few seasons in regards to the defensive contributions points. So that's a bit of a teaser for one of my next videos. But yeah, next time around, The next video we're going to see is my latest draft in terms of which players I have. It's going to be pretty similar to this draft, I imagine. Still going to have a think about it before I go to Sri Lanka, because that's the next thing in my plans. On Saturday, I'm going to go to Sri Lanka, which is tomorrow as you're watching this video, if you're watching it as it came out on Friday. And yeah, that is pretty much the next thing on the tablet for me. Going to Sri Lanka, I am probably going to bring my mic and all my setup as well to make more videos, because I'm really in the zone now and I'm really enjoying making content for you guys, and you guys seem to enjoy it as well, because I'm getting a lot of positive comments as well. Like only like one negative comment, I think, from like several of them, and I was taking a shot at my strikers for some reason. They didn't like Gyökeres, Bowen and Beto, but I think they're amazing, as you can see from this guide. But they're amazing, but there are also some players that I would probably change around quite a bit throughout the season. But yeah, so anyways, let me know what you think about this kind of loose plan, going from Haaland or Salah to Haaland in game week 6, and then going without Haaland and Salah from game week 9 onwards, basically until game week 13. That will be an interesting tactic all around. But again, the biggest downside to not having Salah and Haaland, I know that's kind of like a talking point lately. The biggest downside to not having them for game week 1 is in case one of them like really plays well and you want Salah for game week 4 against Burnley, against for game week 4 against Burnley, for example, a lot of 4s there, then it will be really tough to get Salah if you have just the money spread around, rather than having someone like Haaland that you can downgrade immediately and bring in Salah if he has started the season on a roll, basically. And the same with Haaland. If you have Salah, not Haaland, you can easily sell Salah and bring in Haaland. So one without the other works out really well if you want to change and work things over on the fly, basically. So that is my case against going without Haaland and Salah early in the season. But right before the wildcard, that's not really going to be a problem for me, because I'm going to be able to wildcard and get them both in at the same time as well, without having to rework my squad, apart from that game week, of course, where I wildcard. So anyways, that was it for the video, I think. I don't think I have anything else to say here. So again, hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like these long form videos as well. I had something more to say, of course, because I keep blabbering on and keep speaking quite fast as well, I have noticed, and sometimes mumbling my words. So sorry about that. Trying to improve with that as well. But yeah, please let me know if you want shorter videos. I'm also trying to look into making like YouTube shorts as well, for like more like really concise content, maybe some fun content as well, potentially. I have some fun plans, especially when talking about defensive contributions. But anyways, let me know what you think about the videos, how long they are and stuff. If you want shorter videos, if you prefer them to be longer, if you really like that in the preseason, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, get back to me in the comment section. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already as well. I'm getting a lot of subscribers lately, which is really nice to see. And we have some exciting news probably pretty soon to tell you as well. So yeah, really happy with everything going on with FPL and YouTube and life in general, really. Going to Sri Lanka is going to be really fun. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.